And of course, the month of July comes with very many good things. One of the good things that it is coming with is the Rugby Africa Cup, but also the fact that Fat Cats is back in the recording business. We want to tell the stories as much as possible, and with some pretty new content coming in and some pretty new equipment as well. I mean, the things that can let me do things like
This and I say all this stuff. For those that are listening, you know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, very, very interesting. My name is Ruben Kihumuro, and this month has really been interesting. First of all, we had the triumph of the Rugby Africa Sevens in Mauritius, 2 weekends of epic action, and then now we are building up to the big one, the Rugby Africa 15s, that is going to be hosted here in Uganda at Nambole and at Wankulukuku. I have a very interesting guest with me in particular, a very, very big man. We have, you know, those guys at the function, the guest of honor, where they don't serve food until the person has arrived. That's what's happening in this particular regard. But Mr. Eric Malinga, brand manager, Nile Breweries, or Nile Special, which one in particular?
I would go Nile Special.
Nile
definitely.
Special.
Yes.
All right. Before we get into so much, who is Eric Malinga? I mean, so many people may be seeing you around the sports circles, but not really knowing who you are.
Okay. Eric Malinga is, first of all, a former basketball player. So I've been in sports for quite a while.
Okay.
I played basketball for close to 20 years.
Okay.
Semi-professionally. And I also a finance major by profession, but I've been in advertising for a while.
In advertising for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have particularly worked with rugby, especially with Nile Special, but 2024, of course, the year opened with the Uganda Cup that Heathens won, and then, of course, the Rugby Championship recently concluded. I mean, so many changes happened, but it was such a success of a tournament, of course, again, driven by Nile Special and the Uganda Rugby Union and other stakeholders. Yeah. And yet again, Heathens winning that one. I mean, they are like the dictator in basketball, City Oilers. But what was your take so far? I mean, we have just done 6 months and July is the 7th. What has rugby looked like for you this year?
This year it's been interesting. Coming, of course, from the point of view of not only a fan, but also as the brand itself.
Yeah.
Yes, the union changed the format of play, which was something new. But we still kept in there, of course, the campaign for rugby throughout the season, starting with the championship, and now, of course, moving into the sevens, and now as well we have the Rugby Africa 15. I think it's interesting. It has kept us on our toes throughout. Yep.
From a stakeholder's point of view, what were the biggest successes you think that came from the Rugby Championship?
I think anything in, as long as we are getting results, the team is getting results. So it's a win-win either way. So for us, that's big. That's big. Of course, just taking you back a little bit, we were running a campaign called Raise Your Game, where we expected the teams and the players to step up their game.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what they gave us for the championship. You could see how it went down to the wire in the final. And that, for us, gives us the numbers we need.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and ideally, when you talk about, of course, for the club games, it was Raise Your Game, and then for the national game, it's going to be Raise Our Game. How does that particularly tie into the fans, who are one of the biggest, of course, parts of the sport?
The fans contribute, of course, the biggest to the sport. So us just making that tweak to Raise Our Game, we want the whole of the nation to be behind all of us. So it's not just about the team itself, but about the people behind the teams, the people who are supporting the teams, and the brand itself. So it's a collective effort from all of us.
Yeah, okay. I think before we get into the nitty-gritties of the Rugby Africa Cup, of course, Nile Special is very, very much involved in sport in Uganda as a general. Yes. It is, of course, with its other sister brands, Nile Special having Castlelight in the basketball league, and then Nile Special being directly involved with the football league. Benchmarking of those different particular sports and their particular communities, how does rugby compare to football and basketball in this regard, especially with this year?
Okay. So, of course, in comparison to the other sports, so for a long time, we've been in football
Yeah.
for quite a while. And, you know, I would regard, of course, football as the #1 sport
Yeah, definitely.
here in Uganda. So we've been in football. Of course, we've seen and we all know where the team is at
Yeah.
this point. Rugby has given us incentive to keep giving to rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in the growth has been tremendous,
Yeah.
and I think because of the structures that they have in place, it has ensured that we keep staying or keep within the
Yeah.
partnering with the rugby and also partnering with the union. So for us, it's a no-brainer. As long as we have structures in place, I mean, I've seen and I've noticed a lot of grassroots rugby happening because without the grassroots, you wouldn't have what we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nile Special is a brand that celebrates Ugandan greatness. How big or how small, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's why you'll find we are moving in all those various disciplines. And of course, we are trying to, of course, take the brand to another level using still these sports disciplines. You mentioned football and rugby. There's also pool where
I
we're
know.
also greatly involved.
Yeah.
And anything that brings us good reception, good
Yeah.
numbers, will be there.
Yeah. Is there any way or any campaign that maybe may cross-promote or unionize these sports where they can, you see a person from pool coming together with a person from rugby, basketball?
Yes, it's possible. And it's interesting that you've mentioned it, but we all know about the Olympics.
Yeah.
I think that's one
Yeah.
sport that unifies every sport, and it's all about participation. Whether you win or lose, just the effort that you put in to get there. And we'll also definitely be part of the Olympics.
Yeah.
The push is for us to get to a level we have never been before, and I think we can do it. I believe we can do it.
Okay, that's very interesting. And of course, for all those watching us, we're just here enjoying ourselves, some Nile Special as we're talking about some rugby and of course sport in general. But you can always follow us and always click that subscribe button, follow us on social media, Fat Cats Podcast, bringing you all the information that is necessary and all the information that is candid. Yeah, so jumping into Rugby Africa Cup, that is starting later this month. Of course, for those that are not aware, that is going to be, of course, the team's jetting around the 18th, but the first match day is on the 20th, which is a Saturday, and there will be 4 games happening, which are going to be, in a sense, of a quarterfinal, sort of a knockout. Then the winners in that one, in the midweek, that is going to be on a Wednesday, 24th. Will be playing the semi-finals. Those that lost out in the first round will be particularly playing what they call the placement games, and then building up to a Sunday, 28th July finish, which will have the final and still some other placement games. Remember, from this particular tier of rugby teams, there is going to be one that will be relegated, but 7 teams are coming to Uganda to play. Of course, 2 venues. Nambole, ideally tentatively for Saturday 20th and 28th Sunday. Then Wednesday we'll have one Kulukuku. But then also Uganda will be playing host. So on top of the 7 teams plus the 8 teams will be contesting for that very much coveted Rugby Africa trophy. There's so much history behind that, and on our social media platforms we'll definitely be giving you a lot of that information, so keep it locked and make sure you click on that notification. Every time we get a post, you make sure you receive it real time. So from a sponsor's point of view, how has preparation been for this tournament thus far, and maybe when did it start even?
Okay, so from a brand's point of view, we launched in May. I don't remember the date, 20th or 24th.
Yeah.
Is when we launched at Kings Park, announcing, of course, the upcoming Rugby Africa Cup, where we, of course, displayed or talked about what we are bringing to the table, who is coming, basically most of the things you've just said. So from that point onwards, we went into several organization meetings just to see how better we can get people to come to these games. It's been difficult. There have been a lot of hindrances here and there, but we're moving in the right direction. We've of course started calling out those communications, of course, on our digital channels. I'm sure you've seen them. And then we are mainly also looking, considering the venues, because rugby has always been considered as a niche sport. And you can see the areas we've been playing at in Chadondo Rugby Ground,
Kings Park,
Legends. Most of them, whenever we have big tournaments, we are looking at numbers of in the range of 3,000, 4,000. That's a very good day. But coming to Nambole, of course, you know, the seating capacity in Nambole is huge. We're looking at 40,000 people. That's not an easy feat, but what we are trying to do is to ensure that we get everybody to understand what we are trying to do. How can we support the team collectively as a nation, considering we are hosting this year and possibly as well next year, according to the communications, of course, we got from Rugby Africa. So it's a tremendous task, but it's something I think we can pull off, considering where we have moved from in rugby, from way 2011 to now. You can't compare what has happened. So I think unless you do it, you can never know if it can be done. So as a sponsor, it's tough, but I mean, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
You talked about particularly the transition from venues that host about 3,000 to 4,000 and maybe 5,000 on a good day to wanting to go to places that host like 40K, like Nambole. What are some of those strategies or those tactics that are going to be employed to say that we are getting that extra, let's say 3,700 people that will attend, or that 27,000 people rather that will attend?
So on top of what we're already doing, like I said, basketball is a niche sport. I mean, sorry,
rugby.
Excuse me. Rugby is a niche sport. So when you look at the people who come to rugby, they will already come. Who do we want to target? We want to target that guy who probably has a bit of knowledge of rugby, but is very patriotic and wants to come and will be encouraged to come. How are we going to do that? We are going to use those very channels that they get this information from. If it means getting this truck that blasts communications through the streets, we'll do that. I mean, rugby never does that, but we can do that and still get the people we need.
And most people say rugby is a cool kids sport.
Yes, exactly.
Don't do those things of the track, but I think it would be necessary to go into some of those things that very many people are used to.
Correct. So those are one of the ways we will go and meet them without them coming to us. If we have to go down to downtown, we'll go there, so be it, and get these people here. As in, so we'll not only communicate on our digital channels, no, because not everybody is online.
Definitely.
So definitely, that's one. Public announcements is one of them in whatever way or form. You've seen rig trucks stationed in places where promotions are being done. We'll do that. We'll do that as well. And that's something that will increase our reach and get people to know what's happening. And most people need also to understand what the game is about. So those are some of the ways that are going to work for us at this point.
Nile Special has been particularly when it comes to rugby, and I think one of those aspects that has set rugby apart from very many sports in its fans' experience. The experience of the fans, whether it's after party or during the game, for the longer full day experiences of rugby action. But there's always been a fun park, there's always been different things that are really enticing so many fans, even those that are not so staunch into the rugby itself. They can come for that experience. What maybe, I don't know how soon or how available such the information is at the moment, but is there anything you can particularly give us when it comes to what to expect from fans interaction, fans engagement, fans experience, activations that people can expect on these game days?
Yes, so every game day, at least we can expect to have 4 games played throughout the
definitely,
day,
yeah.
from the morning to the evening. So there's one thing getting people there, and there's another keeping people there.
Yes, yes.
So of course, the fun park is going to be our biggest, one of the biggest things that will keep people there. Yeah, in the fun park, of course, we have everything, lots of entertainment. There'll be games being played. There'll be food. You don't have to get out of the stadium to go eat. Yeah, there'll be, like I said, entertainment performances from artists. Yeah, at least the local artists that we love and we know. And of course, like I told you earlier on, that's what Nile Special is. We celebrate Ugandan greatness, and we look at those Ugandans who people appeal to. And those are the people that we shall also use to draw crowds as an additional way of getting people to the stadium. So it's something that has been done before, but not in a stadium like that for rugby. So we believe that will work for us.
Okay, that's particularly interesting. So last year around November, there was the Victoria Cup, which was quite successful. And actually, I shouldn't say quite, it was very, very successful, very colorful from all aspects. Of course, the fans were very happy. Luckily enough, Uganda won, and so many things were going on. From your side, I understand, of course, as a brand, there are so many things that benchmarking happens and that you're looking at from that particular tournament to bring into this one. What are those things that you think will definitely be amplified or improved for the Rugby Africa Cup? Of course, with the tournament of this relatively small size of Victoria Cup going into this magnanimous tournament, which is Rugby Africa Cup, what are those things that you think will be amplified?
I think the biggest thing will be media coverage, because remember, we have the announcement out there, but most people will not know what's going on and what this is about. So we would rather have more sort of like educational, and also just letting people know that this is rugby and this is what we're trying to achieve at this point, even the rugby team and where it's going. And we need to amplify those a little bit more. So of course we are in touch with most of our media partners to ensure that we get much more coverage. If we're doing say 40%, we need to elevate it up to about 60, 70, at least step it a notch higher, so that we can get at least not only more viewership, but more attendance as well.
Okay. Yeah. So now, just with you from a personal point of view, I know you talked about being a sportsman, having played basketball. Do you have a particular rugby team you support? Or you're not allowed from your capacity?
Yeah, as in, at this point, so there are 2 ways you could look at it. Either, right now I'm speaking from a brand perspective, yeah, because the support goes all around. It's Ugandan rugby, yeah, that I support. So, being a sportsman, I like to watch the game and enjoy it. Yeah. So whatever moves or whoever is playing well, I will support. Yeah, because I enjoy the game as a whole. Yeah. So if you want to limit me to one team, not at this time.
No, definitely, of course. I was just trying to tap into you as a person. Of course, I understand a person who's into sport at some point to become a fan. And you know, people that have played sport can be the most staunch fans for their particular clubs. So it was a way of just trying to get to know a little bit more about you as a person.
Yeah, so I can tell you for a fact, at one time I was a Cubs fan, at one time I was a Rhinos fan, at one time. So depending on who the opponent was. Yeah.
So it depends on the opponent. That's very interesting. And anyway, the good thing is, at the end of the day, it is Uganda rugby that we are focusing on. You're definitely wearing some interesting threads there. Should we expect Uganda rugby cranes to have some new threads for this particular tournament?
Expectation is very good, and it's most likely going to happen.
Okay.
Yes.
This is me trying to steal some information from you, but you have refused to play along.
But let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens at kickoff. Definitely.
Okay. So any last things that you think people can expect for this particular tournament? I know there's been communication about the ticketing and everything. It hasn't been amplified as much, but I'm sure with time going on, it's going to be intensified, of course. But what do you think people should look out for? What do you think maybe some things that we have missed out in the conversation thus far that you think people should need to know?
Yeah, sure. Guys, let's prepare for what's coming. You can expect activations happening near you. They could be on the street, they could be in the bars. There'll be promos for you to even win tickets to the games. We are also looking at just ensuring that we focus even on certain hotspots, ferrying fans to the games on the game day.
Yeah.
So we are
I
going
think
to
that
try
will do
to
a lot.
simplify everything for everybody, so that we are all at least comfortable to be able to go and watch these games.
Yeah, definitely. You've had that from brand manager Nile Breweries, Eric Malinga, talking about, of course, the recently being launched Rugby Africa Cup that is going to be happening, of course, from the 20th to the 28th. And the Fat Cats are going to be bringing you all that action, bringing you all the build-up and everything. So look out for any of our communications. We'll probably be having some giveaways. I don't want to give out the information before it's ripe, but it's coming soon. And so much, of course, the build-up with our partners. ISA Metrics will also be giving you how the teams and their statistical analysis is going to be. But it's a tournament that's in Uganda. The last time we had a very big tournament in Uganda was Victoria Cup. Before that was the Rugby Africa Cup 2022. And one thing about both tournaments was the fact that, you know what, they were a party, a blast, and I think this one as well is going to be one of those. So keep it locked with the Fat Cats and make sure you are either at Nambole or are you at Wankulukuku and you're drinking your Nile Special or a Nile Breweries product and just enjoying rugby. Cheers.